I'm standing in my childhood backyard, surrounded by 50 people who think they know exactly who I am. They don't. But my sister Emily made sure they believe they do. Let me back up, because the moment I realized what she was doing, I understood I'd been playing defense my entire life.
Tonight, that ends.
3 hours earlier, I pulled into the driveway and knew something was wrong.
Cars everywhere.
Not family cars, neighbor cars. Teacher cars. People I hadn't seen since high school graduation. The backyard looked like someone was getting married, not like the small family dinner Emily promised when she called last week. Her voice on that call was so careful, so practiced. Come home, Ray. I want to fix things. Just us. Just family. I actually believed her. Standing at the gate now, watching Edison bulbs flicker in the maple trees and champagne glasses catch the sunset, I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't reconciliation. This was theater. Emily spotted me before I could leave. She moved fast, arms open, smile wide. But her eyes were scanning past me, checking who was watching. The hug felt like a photo opportunity. Everyone's here to celebrate you, she said, loud enough for the nearest table to hear. Celebrate.
Right.
Mrs. Chun from 3 houses down looked up from her wine. Coach Richards, my old PE teacher who always liked Emily better, nodded like he was confirming something he already suspected. My aunt from Colorado, the one who sends passive-aggressive Christmas cards, stared at me the way you stare at a stain you can't quite identify. I caught pieces of whispers as Emily guided me toward the main table. Is that her? Didn't she drop out or something? I heard she hasn't been home in over a year. Not true. None of it true. But truth doesn't matter when 50 people are already forming opinions. We sat down. Emily to my right, Mom to my left. Dad's chair was empty. He's been in and out of the hospital for months. Something about his heart. The doctors say it's manageable, but I noticed how Mom's hands shook when she poured water. Dinner started with that fake kind of polite where everyone smiles but nobody's really talking. Forks scraped plates. Someone laughed too loud at nothing. I could feel eyes on me from every direction, like I was the exhibit, and they were the visitors trying to figure out what was wrong with the display. Emily kept glancing at her phone, checking the time, watching the crowd. That's when I started paying attention differently. She wasn't celebrating me. She was waiting for something. The sun dropped below the fence line. Someone turned on the string lights. Emily stood up, and the whole backyard went quiet so fast it felt rehearsed. She had a champagne flute in one hand and her phone in the other. Smiling. Always smiling. Since it's Rachel's birthday, this felt like the right moment. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. The right moment for what? I asked. She looked at me like I'd just confirmed something she needed me to confirm. For honesty. That word landed different than it should have. Honesty wasn't a gift. It was a threat. And that's when I realized Emily didn't gather all these people to celebrate me. She gathered them to watch me fall apart. What I didn't know yet was why she needed an audience. Or what she planned to do once she had won. Emily started soft. That was strategic. Rachel and I haven't been close lately, she said, looking at the crowd like they were old friends. And I think part of that is because we've both been carrying secrets. Secrets. Plural. My chest tightened. She turned to me, and for half a second I saw something flicker across her face, calculation masked as concern. I know college in Massachusetts was hard for you. The table shifted. People leaned in. I know you struggled. I know you felt isolated. She said it like she was offering sympathy. But the crowd heard something else. They heard couldn't handle it. They heard didn't fit in. They heard something was wrong with her. Mom's hand found mine under the table. I couldn't tell if it was support or a warning to stay quiet. Emily kept going. Rachel told me she went to therapy that summer. The summer after sophomore year. Someone gasped. Actually gasped. Like therapy was a confession instead of self-care. I opened my mouth, but Emily's voice got louder, smoother, like she'd been practicing this part. She told me she didn't feel like she belonged here anymore. That she thought about moving Colorado, maybe Virginia, just to get away from all of us. My aunt from Colorado set her glass down hard. Her face said ungrateful. Coach Richards shook his head slowly. Disappointed, but not surprised. I tried to stand up. Mom's grip tightened. That's not. It's okay, Rachel. Her voice dripped with that practiced empathy, the kind that sounds caring but cuts deep. We're family. You don't have to be ashamed. Ashamed. She was rewriting my life in real time, and everyone was letting her. I looked around the table. At the neighbors who used to bring us casseroles. At the teachers who wrote my college recommendation letters. At family members who'd known me since I was 6 years old. Not one person questioned her. Not one person asked me if any of this was true. They just sat there, nodding along, filling in gaps with their own assumptions. That's when I understood what Emily was doing. She wasn't lying exactly. She was taking real moments, real conversations, and twisting them just enough that they sounded like evidence of something darker. Something broken. The therapy? I went because Mom suggested it after a bad breakup. Nothing dramatic. Just normal life stuff. The moving thoughts? I mentioned it once, wondering out loud what it would be like to start fresh somewhere. Everyone thinks that at 23. But Emily wasn't interested in context. She was building a story. And the audience was eating it up. There's one more thing, Emily said, and the backyard got even quieter. My pulse hammered. She pulled out her phone, scrolled, then looked up with this expression I'd never seen before, hurt mixed with duty. Like she was about to do something painful, but necessary. Rachel told me she wanted to sell Dad's land in Maryland. The reaction was instant. Fork dropped. Chair scraped. Someone whispered, "How could she?" Mom's hand went limp in mine. My aunt stood up halfway, then sat back down, glaring. That land has been in our family for 40 years, Emily continued. Dad always said it would stay in the family. But Rachel said she needed the money more than she needed us.
Lie.
Complete lie. I asked one question. One, about what would happen to the land after Dad passed. A hypothetical. A future tense question about estate planning. Emily turned it into greed. Into betrayal. I never said that. I finally managed, voice shaking. Emily tilted her head. Sympathetic. Patient. Rachel, I understand you're upset. But lying about it now just makes this harder. The crowd believed her. Every single one of them. And that's when I realized this wasn't just humiliation. This was something bigger. The air felt different after Emily said it. Heavier. Like everyone had been waiting for confirmation that I was exactly what they suspected. Selfish. Distant. Wrong. Mom pulled her hand away from mine. Not dramatically. Just slowly. Like she was reconsidering whether I deserved comfort. My aunt from Colorado crossed her arms and leaned back, her whole posture screaming I knew it. Coach Richards muttered something to the man next to him. They both looked at me and shook their heads. I needed to say something. Defend myself. Explain. But Emily was still talking. I think Rachel felt like the land was hers to decide about, she said, voice soft but clear enough for every corner of that backyard to hear. And maybe part of that is my fault. Maybe I made her feel like she wasn't part of this family anymore. She was doing it again, rewriting the script. Making herself the reasonable one. The concerned sister, who just wanted to help. Making me the villain. That's not what happened, I said, louder this time. 50 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I asked one question.
One.
About what happens to the land when Dad... I couldn't finish that sentence. It was a future question. I never said I wanted to sell anything. Emily's face shifted into something that looked like pity. Rachel, I have the text messages. My stomach dropped. She held up her phone. I couldn't see the screen from where I sat, but everyone else could. People leaned in. Someone squinted. Another person nodded slowly. You wrote, "What if we just sold it and split the money?" Emily read it out loud. The memory hit me. That text. I did send it, but she cut off the rest. The full message said, "What if we just sold it and split the money?" I'm kidding. Dad would haunt us forever. But seriously, what's the plan? It was a joke. Followed by an actual question about estate planning. Emily showed them half a sentence and let them imagine the rest. Show them the whole conversation, I said. I don't think that's necessary, Emily replied. I'm not trying to attack you, Ray. I just want you to admit you've been struggling. That you've been thinking about walking away from this family. Walking away. She kept saying it like I was abandoning them, when the truth was I moved 2 hours north for college and stayed because I got a decent job. Normal 23-year-old stuff. But Emily was making it sound like betrayal. Why are you doing this? I asked. She blinked.
Surprised.
Like, she didn't expect me to push back. I'm trying to help you. By humiliating me in front of 50 people? The words came out louder than I meant. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Mom closed her eyes like I was embarrassing her. Emily's expression changed, just for a second. Something colder. Sharper. Then the sympathy mask slid back on. We just want you to be honest, Rachel. You're among family. Family. The word felt like a trap. I stood up. Chair scraped loud against the patio stones. I need some air. No one stopped me. I walked toward the edge of the yard, past the champagne station, past the dessert table, past clusters of people who pulled back slightly as I passed, like I might explode or cry or do something that would confirm everything Emily just said. I could feel them watching me, judging me. But as I reached the back fence, near the old garden shed where we used to hide as kids, I heard something. Two voices.
Low.
Casual. My cousin Derek and his wife, standing by the roses. If Emily pulls this off, she gets everything. I froze. Everything? Think she's nervous? His wife asked. She should be. If Rachel figures it out before tomorrow, the whole thing falls apart.
Tomorrow.
Figures what out? I stayed perfectly still, hidden by the shadow of the shed. 50 witnesses saying Rachel admitted she wanted to sell, Derek said. That's all Emily needs. Then the lawyer won't question anything. His wife laughed quietly. Your family is ruthless. My heart was slamming against my ribs. This wasn't about embarrassing me. This was about disqualifying me. And whatever Emily planned next, it hadn't happened yet. I stood there in the dark, barely breathing, replaying what I just heard. If Emily pulls this off, she gets everything. Everything. Not a share. Not some of it. Everything. I pressed my back against the shed wall, mind racing. Dad's been sick for months. In and out of the hospital. Heart problems. Medication changes. Mom's spending entire days at his bedside while Emily stayed home to manage things. Manage things? What things? The land in Maryland, 40 years in the family, worth more now than when Grandpa bought it. The house. Dad's retirement accounts. The family trust he set up when we were kids, the one he always said would take care of both of us equally. Equally. Unless one of us proved unworthy. My legs felt weak. That's what tonight was. Emily wasn't just embarrassing me for fun. She was creating a narrative, building a case. In front of witnesses, neighbors, teachers, distant relatives, people who could testify later that Rachel Morgan admitted she didn't care about the family. That she wanted to sell everything. That she couldn't be trusted. If Dad's will, or the trust got contested, Emily would have 50 people backing her version of events. And I'd have nothing but my word against a room full of witnesses. Derek and his wife walked away, heading back toward the party. I waited until they disappeared into the crowd, then moved carefully along the fence line, staying in the shadows. I needed to think. Dad signed the trust years ago, when Emily and I were both teenagers. Equal split. He made us promise we'd take care of each other, that we'd never let money come between us. But people change documents. Especially when they're sick. Especially when one daughter is always there, always helpful, always the golden child. And the other daughter lives 2 hours away and only visits on holidays. I felt sick. How long had Emily been planning this? The phone call last week, I want to fix things, wasn't about reconciliation. It was bait. She needed me here. Needed me in front of all these people, so she could perform this whole intervention act. But why the rush? Derek said tomorrow. Like there was a deadline. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, and opened my text with Emily from last week. Come home, Ray. I planned something special. Sunday night. Just family.
Sunday. Today.
I scrolled further back. 3 weeks ago, she'd texted asking if I'd talked to Dad's lawyer recently. I said no. Why would I? She responded with, just wondering. He's been asking about the Maryland property. Thought maybe he reached out to you. I didn't think anything of it at the time. Now it felt like a test. She was checking whether I knew something. Whether Dad had told me anything. I kept scrolling. A month ago, how's work? Still thinking about moving? 5 weeks ago, do you ever miss being home? She'd been cataloging my answers. Building her case piece by piece. Every casual conversation we'd had over the past 2 months, she was gathering ammunition. I leaned against the fence, trying to steady my breathing. Think, Rachel.
Think.
If Emily needed witnesses tonight, and Derek said before tomorrow, that meant something was happening soon. Something legal. Something that required paperwork or signatures or a meeting. There must be a meeting. With the lawyer. With the family. Maybe to finalize changes to the trust. Maybe to discuss the estate while Dad was still alive but too sick to handle it himself. And if I showed up to that meeting accused of wanting to sell family land, of not caring about anyone but myself, of being unstable enough to need therapy and desperate enough to run away, I wouldn't just lose my inheritance. I'd lose any chance of questioning what Emily had done. The party noise felt distant now. Laughter and music and clinking glasses, all of it happening in a different world. A world where I was still the villain of Emily's carefully constructed story. But standing there in the dark, something shifted inside me. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to cry in my car and drive back to Massachusetts and let Emily win. If she wanted to play this game, fine. But she made one mistake. She assumed I'd stay quiet. She assumed I'd accept the role she wrote for me. I pulled on my recent calls and found a name I hadn't contacted in 2 years. Marcus Chen. Emily's ex-fiancé. The one she suddenly stopped talking about. The one who disappeared from family events without explanation. My thumb hovered over his number. If anyone knew what Emily was capable of, it would be him. I pressed call. The phone rang 4 times. I was about to hang up when he answered. Rachel. Marcus sounded surprised. Not angry. Just careful. I need to ask you something, I said, keeping my voice low. About Emily. Silence on the other end. Long enough that I thought he might hang up. Where are you right now? He finally asked. My parents' house. There's this party, and I know about the party. That stopped me cold. You know? I'm parked 2 streets over, he said. I've been sitting here for the past hour trying to decide if I should warn you or just let it play out. My heart was racing. Warn me about what? Not over the phone. Can you get away? I looked back toward the party. Emily was holding court at the main table, probably adding more lies to her performance. No one had noticed I was gone yet. There's a tree house, I said. Back corner of the property, past the old oak. You remember it. I remember. 5 minutes. I hung up and moved through the dark yard, staying close to the fence. The treehouse was a relic from childhood. Dad built it when I was 7 and Emily was 9. We used to hide up there during family barbecues, making up stories about running away to somewhere exciting. Funny how some things circle back. I climbed the wooden ladder, worn smooth by years of use. The platform creaked under my weight but held steady. Someone had left an old blanket up here, probably neighborhood kids using it as a hideout now. I sat down and waited. 3 minutes later, I heard footsteps below. Marcus appeared at the base of the ladder, looking up. You still fit up there? Barely. He climbed up, moving carefully. Marcus had always been solid, played baseball in college, kept that athletic build. He settled across from me, and for a moment we just sat there in the dark, listening to the distant party noise. She's doing it again, he said finally. Isn't she? Doing what? Building a story. Using real things you said or did, twisting them just enough that they sound like proof of something worse. I stared at him. That's exactly what she's doing. Marcus nodded slowly, like he'd been expecting this. She did the same thing to me. That's why I left. I never understood what happened between you two, I said. One day you were engaged, the next you were just gone. Emily wouldn't talk about it. Mom said you had different values or something vague like that. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Different values.
Right.
What actually happened was I started noticing things didn't add up. What do you mean? Little stuff at first. Emily would tell her parents I said something I never said. Or she'd show them texts that were edited, my words, but with her responses cut out so it looked like I was being cruel or dismissive. The texts. Just like tonight. When I called her out on it, she cried. Said I was gaslighting her. Said she was scared of me. He shook his head. Your mom took her side immediately. Your dad asked to see my phone, and when I showed him the full conversations, he just looked tired. Like he didn't want to deal with it. So you left. I left because Emily told me if I didn't, she'd report me for something I didn't do. She had it all planned out. Who she'd tell, what she'd say, how it would destroy my teaching career before it even started. My stomach turned. You were going to be a teacher?
Was.
Past tense. I'm in insurance now. Safer. Less vulnerable to accusations. We sat in silence for a moment. Why didn't you warn me? I asked. After you left. Why didn't you tell me what she was? Would you have believed me? Honest answer? Probably not. Back then, I still thought Emily was just competitive. Jealous sometimes. But not this. She's been planning tonight for months, Marcus said. I know because she tried to friend me on social media a few weeks ago. Fake account. I recognized her writing style. She has this way of phrasing things very specific. She sent me questions about you. Casual stuff. Have you talked to Rachel lately? Does she seem happy? You didn't respond.
No. But it told me she was building something.
Gathering information. He pulled out his phone. Then I started paying attention. Mutual friends. Old connections. Emily's been asking a lot of people about you over the past 2 months. He showed me screenshots. Messages to old college friends, to cousins, to people I barely remembered. All asking the same kinds of questions. How's Rachel doing? Does she talk about family much? Did she seem stressed when you saw her? Each question designed to plant seeds. To create a pattern. She's good at this, Marcus said quietly. Really good. She makes you think you're crazy for questioning her. Makes everyone else think you're the problem. Tonight she accused me of wanting to sell Dad's land. She made it sound like I'm abandoning the family. Marcus went very still. Your dad's land. The Maryland property.
Yes.
Why? Because 3 weeks ago I ran into your cousin Derek at a bar. He was drunk. He told me Emily had been asking questions about property values, about how trusts work, about what happens when someone is deemed unfit to inherit. The word landed like a punch. Unfit. She's not just embarrassing you, Rachel. She's disqualifying you. I told him what I'd overheard. Derek's conversation about Emily getting everything. About tomorrow being some kind of deadline. Marcus's jaw tightened. Then we don't have much time. Time for what? To prove what she's doing. Before whatever happens tomorrow makes it permanent. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small notebook. I kept records. After everything with Emily, I documented everything. Dates, conversations, witnesses. I even recorded some of our fights because I knew she'd twist them later. You recorded her? New Jersey is a one-party consent state. Perfectly legal. And lucky for you, he flipped through pages. I'm not the only one she's done this to. He showed me a list of names. People I recognized. Emily's former roommate. A girl she used to call her best friend. 2 guys she dated before Marcus. They all have stories, he said. None of them wanted to come forward because Emily's too good at making herself the victim. But if you're willing to fight back, I think some of them might help. I looked at the list, then back at Marcus. Why are you doing this? After everything she put you through, you could just walk away. He was quiet for a long moment. Because I know what it feels like to have everyone believe her version instead of the truth. And because he met my eyes. Your dad was kind to me. Even at the end, even when he was tired of the drama, he pulled me aside and said he believed me. He said he was sorry. My throat tightened. He never told me that. He didn't want to choose between his daughters. But he knew, deep down, he knew something was wrong with how Emily operated. A sound from below made us both freeze. Footsteps. Moving through the grass. Rachel? You out here? Mom's voice. Marcus and I looked at each other. Don't tell her I'm here, he whispered. Not yet. Not until we know whose side she's on. I nodded and climbed down the ladder. Mom was standing at the base of the oak tree, arms wrapped around herself. There you are. Emily's asking for you. I bet she is. Mom's face pinched. Don't be like that. She's trying to help you. Help me? Mom, she just humiliated me in front of 50 people.
She's worried about you.
We all are. There it was.
The we.
Like it was already decided. Family versus Rachel. Did you ever ask me if what she said was true? Mom hesitated. Sweetheart, Emily showed us the texts. Part of the texts. Did you see the full conversation? I know, but why would she lie? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice. Your father's not doing well, Rachel. The doctors think he might have another episode soon. We're trying to get everything in order, and Emily's been helping with all of it. The paperwork, the lawyers, the medical decisions. She's been here. Where have you been? The guilt hit exactly where she aimed it. I have a job, Mom. I can't just. Your sister made sacrifices. She moved back home. She put her life on hold. Did she? Or did she volunteer because she wanted control? Mom's expression shifted. Hurt. Defensive. That's an awful thing to say. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, this whole party feels like a setup. A setup for what? I almost told her. Almost explained what I'd overheard, what Marcus said, what I was beginning to understand. But something stopped me. The way Mom was standing. The way she'd already decided Emily was right. If I showed my hand now, she'd run straight to Emily. Nothing, I said. Forget it. Come back to the party. Please. Your aunt wants to talk to you. I'm sure she does. I followed Mom back toward the lights and music, but my mind was already working. Emily wanted tomorrow to be the endgame.
Fine.
I'd make sure tomorrow was full of surprises. The party dragged on for another hour. I played the part Emily wrote for me, quiet, ashamed, avoiding eye contact. Let everyone think her performance worked. Let her believe I was broken. But the whole time, I was watching how Emily checked her phone every few minutes. Watching how she pulled Mom aside twice for whispered conversations. Watching how she smiled at guests, but never let that smile reach her eyes when she looked at me. She was nervous.
Good.
Around 10, people started leaving. Air kisses, sympathetic shoulder pats, a few, "We're here if you need anything," comments directed at Emily, not me. My aunt from Colorado stopped on her way out. "I hope you figure things out, Rachel," she said.
Cold.
Dismissive. Like I was a problem that needed solving. I just nodded. By 11, the backyard was empty except for catering staff cleaning up. Emily disappeared inside with Mom. Dad was supposedly resting upstairs, too tired for the drama, according to Mom. Or too sick to see what Emily was doing. I waited until I heard Emily's car pull out of the driveway. She called out that she'd be back in the morning, that we'd talk more then. The morning? Tomorrow. Whatever was happening, it was close. Mom went upstairs to check on Dad. I heard her footsteps creak across the second floor, then the sound of their bedroom door closing. I moved fast. Dad's study was at the back of the house, overlooking the garden. He'd spent hours in there when we were kids, working on cases, reviewing contracts. The room still smelled like leather and old paper. I closed the door behind me and turned on the desk lamp. The filing cabinet was locked, but I knew where Dad kept the key, taped under the bottom drawer of his desk. Some habits never change. I opened the cabinet and started searching. Medical files. Insurance papers. Tax documents going back years. Then I found it. A folder labeled, "Estate Planning, Updated." Updated. My hands were shaking as I pulled it out. The first page was the original family trust. Dated 15 years ago. Both our names listed as equal beneficiaries. Dad's handwriting in the margins, notes about keeping things fair, about making sure we'd both be taken care of. The second page was dated 3 weeks ago. An amendment. My name was crossed out in several places. Emily's name written in. The Maryland land, transferred solely to Emily. The house, Emily. Dad's investment accounts, Emily, with a small stipend for me if deemed appropriate by the trustee. The trustee being Emily. I felt like I'd been punched, but it was the signature that made me stop breathing. Dad's signature. Right there at the bottom. Except it didn't look right. I'd seen Dad's signature my entire life. On permission slips, report cards, birthday cards. Strong, confident, slightly slanted to the right. This signature was shaky. Uncertain. The letters barely connected. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of every page. Then, I kept searching. Bank statements. Nothing unusual. Legal correspondence. Standard stuff. Then, tucked in the back of the drawer, an envelope marked Property Transfer, Maryland. I opened it. Inside was a deed transfer form. The Maryland land, signed over to Emily. Dated last week. Last week. Not after Dad died. Not as part of an estate plan. Already done. The signature on this document looked even worse. Barely legible. I took more pictures. My mind was racing. If Emily already transferred the land, why did she need tonight's performance? Why did she need witnesses saying I wanted to sell it? Unless she needed cover. If I questioned the transfer later, she'd have 50 people testifying that I was unstable, greedy, willing to sell family property. It wouldn't matter if the signature was questionable. Everyone would assume I was just bitter about not getting what I wanted. I heard footsteps in the hallway. I shoved the documents back into the folder, closed the cabinet, killed the desk lamp. The study door opened. Rachel. Mom stood in the doorway, backlit from the hall. I couldn't see her expression. "What are you doing in here?"
My throat was dry.
I wanted to see Dad's desk. I miss him being well. It sounded weak even to me. Mom stepped inside and closed the door behind her. We stood there in the dark for a moment. "You were looking at the trust, weren't you?" My heart stopped. "Mom, I know about the changes, Rachel. Emily showed me weeks ago. Did you see the signatures?" She was quiet. "Did you actually look at them?" I pressed. "Because they don't look like Dad's handwriting."
He's been sick.
His hands shake sometimes. That's not shaking. That's... What are you accusing your sister of? The question hung in the air between us. This was the moment. Tell her everything or keep playing defense. I chose the truth. I'm saying Emily has been planning this for months. The party tonight wasn't about helping me. It was about making me look unstable so no one would believe me when I questioned these documents. Mom's face was unreadable in the shadows. That's a serious accusation. I know. Do you have proof? I thought about Marcus, about the recordings, about everything I'd just photographed. I'm gathering it. Mom walked to the window, looking out at the dark backyard. Your father's dying, Rachel. The words hit like ice water.
What?
Not today. Maybe not this month. But soon. The doctors told us last week. His heart is failing. There's nothing more they can do. I couldn't breathe. Why didn't anyone tell me? Emily thought it would be better to wait. She said you had enough stress with work. Emily thought. Emily decided. Emily controlled the information. She's been handling everything, Mom continued. The medical decisions, the legal paperwork. I don't know what I would have done without her these past few weeks. Did she handle the trust changes too? Mom turned to face me. She took your father to the lawyer.
I wasn't feeling well that day.
Emily said it was just routine updates. Did Dad tell you what he changed? Silence.
Mom.
Did he tell you? Or did Emily tell you? Her voice was small when she answered. Emily explained it to me after. There it was. And the signature. Did you watch him sign? Rachel, stop. You're making it sound like... Like what? Like Emily manipulated a sick man into signing documents that benefit her? Like she's been systematically pushing me out of this family, so she can take everything? She's your sister. She humiliated me in front of 50 people tonight. Does that sound like something a sister does? Mom's shoulders sagged. I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to look at these documents. Really look at them. I pulled out my phone, opened the photos. Look at Dad's signature. I showed her the screen.
She stared at it for a long time.
It does look off, she admitted quietly. It looks forged. Don't say that. Why not? Because it's uncomfortable? Because it means Emily isn't who you think she is? Mom's hands were shaking now. If what you're saying is true, if Emily did something wrong, that means I helped her. I believed her. I took her side against you all night. Her voice cracked. And suddenly I saw it. The guilt. The fear. The realization that she might have chosen wrong. It's not too late, I said. Help me prove it.
How?
Tomorrow. Emily said there's going to be a family meeting. She needs whatever's happening tomorrow to work. If we can prove the documents are questionable before then. The lawyer, Mom interrupted. Your father's lawyer. He's coming tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock. Emily scheduled it. She said it was just to review everything, make sure the paperwork was in order. 10 o'clock.
That was the deadline.
Once the lawyer reviewed and approved everything, it would be official. Legal. Much harder to contest. We need to stop that meeting, I said. Mom looked torn.
Scared.
Emily will know I told you. Let her know. Rachel, she's been so good to us. So helpful. Maybe there's an explanation. There's an explanation. She's been planning this for months, and tonight was the final piece. She needed everyone to think I was unstable and greedy so that when I questioned the documents, no one would believe me. Mom closed her eyes. I want to believe you, but she's my daughter too. I can't just... Footsteps on the porch. We both froze. The front door opened. Emily's voice called out, Mom? I forgot my phone charger. Are you still up? Mom and I stared at each other in the dark study. Don't tell her I know, I whispered. Not yet. Please. Mom hesitated, then nodded. We stepped out of the study just as Emily rounded the corner. She stopped when she saw us. What were you two doing in Dad's study? Her tone was light, but her eyes were sharp. I was showing Rachel where I put the old photo albums, Mom said. She wanted to see some pictures of your father when he was younger. The lie came so smoothly, I almost believed it myself. Emily smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's sweet. Did you find them? Not yet, I said. I'll look another time. Emily's gaze moved between us, calculating. Well, I should head out. Big day tomorrow. The lawyer's coming at 10, remember? I remember, Mom said. Emily grabbed her charger from the kitchen and headed for the door. She paused at the threshold. Rachel, you're staying tonight, right? I'd hate for you to miss tomorrow's meeting. It wasn't a question. It was a dare. I'll be here. Emily smiled that cold smile.
Good.
Sleep well. The door closed behind her. Mom and I stood in the hallway, neither of us speaking. Finally, Mom whispered, What do we do now? I pulled out my phone. Now we call in help. Mom made tea while I texted Marcus. Need your help. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring everything you have. His response came 30 seconds later. Already planned on it. I'm not letting her do this to another person. I showed Mom the text. She stared at it, holding her mug with both hands like she needed something solid to grip. Marcus. Emily's Marcus. He knows what she's capable of. He documented everything when they were together. She told us he was abusive, that he manipulated her. I know what she told you. It wasn't true. Mom set the mug down carefully, like she was afraid it might shatter. How many other things has she lied about? The question hung in the air. I didn't answer because we both knew, probably everything. Probably for years. We sat at the kitchen table, and I walked her through what Marcus had told me. The edited texts. The manufactured evidence. The threats. Mom listened without interrupting, but I watched her face change. Denial shifting to doubt. Doubt shifting to something that looked like grief. I should have known, she said finally. There were signs. Small things that didn't add up. But she was always so helpful, so present. And you. I left. You built a life. That's not the same as leaving. To Emily it is. To her, anyone who doesn't orbit around her is an enemy. Mom rubbed her temples. What do we do at this meeting tomorrow? Accuse her in front of a lawyer? We present questions. About the signatures, about the timeline, about Dad's medical state when he supposedly signed these documents. The lawyer is a family friend. He might not. Then we'll get another lawyer. But first we need him to see that something's wrong. Mom nodded slowly, but I could see the fear in her eyes. Fear of confronting Emily. Fear of what it would mean if everything I said was true. We talked until after midnight, building a strategy. What we'd say, what we'd show, how we'd handle Emily's inevitable counterattack. Then Mom went upstairs to check on Dad. I stayed in the kitchen, staring at the photos on my phone. The shaky signatures. The altered trust. The property transfer Emily completed while Dad was barely conscious. My phone buzzed. Marcus. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about tomorrow. She's going to fight dirty. Me? Let her. This time there are witnesses who won't believe her. Marcus. Your mom on board? Me. Getting there. She's scared. Marcus. Smart woman. Emily's scariest when she's cornered. I heard Mom's footsteps coming back downstairs. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, face pale. I need to show you something. We went back to the study. Mom pulled out a different folder from the filing cabinet, one I hadn't seen. I found this a week ago. I didn't understand what it meant until tonight. Inside were medical forms, authorization documents, HIPAA releases, all signed by Emily, giving her power of attorney for Dad's medical decisions. When did he sign this? I asked. That's the thing. I was with him at every doctor's appointment. He never signed anything like this in front of me. I looked at the signature. Same shaky handwriting as the trust documents. She forged this too. Mom nodded, eyes wet. I wanted to ask her about it, but she's been so good at explaining things away, making me feel foolish for questioning her. Tonight at the party, watching her perform, that's what it was, wasn't it? A performance? Yes. And I believed every word. Mom's voice broke. I sat there and believed her instead of you. She's had years of practice. You couldn't have known. I'm your mother. I should have known. I didn't have an answer for that. We heard a sound from upstairs. Footsteps. Then Dad's voice, weak but clear. Margaret? Rachel? What's going on down there? Mom and I looked at each other. He never sleeps well anymore, she whispered. The medication makes him restless. We climbed the stairs. Dad was sitting up in bed, looking smaller than I remembered. The past few months had carved weight off him, left him fragile. Hey, Dad. Rachel. You're still here. I thought maybe you'd left after. He trailed off, but the meaning was clear. After Emily's performance. I'm staying tonight. Good. He patted the bed. Sit. Both of you. I want to talk. We sat on either side of him. I heard yelling earlier, he said. At the party. Emily said it was nothing, but Margaret's a terrible liar. Something happened. Mom's hand found mine across the blanket. Emily said some things about Rachel. Mom began carefully. Things that weren't entirely accurate. Dad closed his eyes. Of course she did. The resignation in his voice surprised me. You knew? I asked. Not everything, but enough.
He looked at me.
I'm dying, Rachel. They tell me I have maybe 3 months, maybe less. Dad. Let me finish. I don't have the energy for long conversations anymore. He took a breath. Emily's been very helpful these past few weeks. Very present. But there've been moments when something felt wrong. Documents she wanted me to sign quickly. Questions from the lawyer I didn't remember asking. Your mother mentioned things that didn't match what I remembered saying. The trust, I said. Did you change it? I changed it years ago, when you graduated college. Made sure you'd both inherit equally, protected from creditors or spouses who might take advantage. That's the last trust change I remember making. Mom and I exchanged looks. Emily took you to see the lawyer 3 weeks ago, Mom said gently. Dad frowned. She said we were going to the hospital for routine tests. I was so tired that day. Barely remember the drive. You signed documents, I said. New trust amendments. Property transfers. His face went still. Show me. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos. He studied them for a long time, fingers tracing the screen where a signature appeared. That's not my signature, he said finally. Close. But not mine. See how the R connects to them? I haven't written it that way since I had the first heart episode. My hand cramps when I try to loop letters like that anymore. Emily forged your signature, I said. He didn't look surprised. Just tired. She's my daughter. I love her. But she's always had this need to be chosen first. To be the favorite. When he left for college, I thought maybe she'd relax. Find her own path. Instead, she just got better at hiding the competition. Why didn't you say something? Mom asked. Because I kept thinking it was my imagination. That I was being paranoid because of the medication. And because his voice dropped, I didn't want to believe my own daughter would do this. We sat in silence. The lawyer's coming tomorrow, I said. 10 o'clock. Emily scheduled it. Dad nodded slowly. To finalize everything. Make it official before I'm too sick to contradict her.
We can stop it, I said.
Marcus is going to help. He has evidence of what Emily did to him. Marcus. Dad smiled faintly. Good kid. I always liked him. Emily told us he threatened her, that she was scared of him. I wanted to believe her, but it never sat right. None of it sits right, Mom said. Once you start questioning one thing, everything else unravels. Dad reached for both our hands. Tomorrow's going to be ugly. Emily won't go down quietly. I know. She'll say you're doing this because you're jealous. Because you want the inheritance. She'll cry and play victim and make everyone feel sorry for her. She already did that tonight. Then she'll do it again louder. She'll make your mother choose between you. She'll threaten, manipulate, maybe even lie to the lawyer. Let her, I said. This time we have proof. Dad squeezed my hand weakly. I'm sorry I let it get this far. I should have been stronger. Should have paid more attention. You're sick, Dad. She took advantage of that. Still my responsibility.
He looked at Mom.
And yours, Margaret. We raised her. Somewhere along the way, we missed something. Mom's face crumpled. I don't know where we went wrong. Maybe we didn't, Dad said. Maybe some people are just built different. Need different things. Want different things. He started coughing. Mom grabbed his water, helped him drink. When he caught his breath again, he said, There's something else you need to know. The Maryland land. It's worth more than you realize. Developer's been trying to buy it for years. Offered $2 million last month. $2 million. Emily knows this? I asked. She's the one who brought me the offer. Said we should consider it. I said no. Land stays in the family. When was this? 6 weeks ago. Right before I ended up in the hospital the second time. The timeline was becoming clear. Emily approached Dad about selling. He refused. A week later, he's in the hospital. A week after that, she's taking him to medical appointments where he supposedly signs documents transferring everything to her. She needed you incapacitated, I said. Sick enough that your signature would look shaky. Sick enough that no one would question why you were making sudden changes. Dad's face hardened. You think she made me sicker? I think she saw an opportunity and took it. Mom gasped. Rachel, that would be evil. Dad finished. Maybe. Or maybe just desperate. Either way, tomorrow we put a stop to it. He lay back against the pillows, exhausted. Promise me something, both of you. When this is over, when Emily's been exposed, try to remember she's still family. Still your daughter, still your sister. What she did is unforgivable, but she's still ours. Neither of us answered. Because some betrayals are too deep for forgiveness. And tomorrow, Emily was going to learn that the hard way. I didn't sleep.
Couldn't.
Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily's smile from the party. That calculated, rehearsed smile that had fooled everyone. At 6 in the morning, I gave up and went downstairs. Mom was already in the kitchen, still wearing yesterday's clothes. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Coffee, she offered. Please. We sat across from each other, not talking. Sometimes silence says more than words. At 7, Marcus texted. Picking up 2 witnesses. People Emily burned before. They're willing to testify.
Who?
Her former roommate and the guy she dated before me. Both have similar stories. I showed Mom the text. This is really happening, she said quietly. Did you think it wouldn't? Part of me hoped we'd wake up and it would all be a misunderstanding. That Emily would have an explanation. She'll have an explanation. It just won't be true. Mom's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. It's Emily. She's on her way over. Says she wants to prep for the meeting. Perfect. Let her think everything's normal. I don't know if I can look at her and pretend. You did it for years without knowing. Now you do it knowing the truth. That's easier. Mom didn't look convinced, but she nodded. 20 minutes later, Emily walked through the door carrying pastries and coffee from the expensive place downtown. Morning. I brought breakfast. Thought we should all eat together before the lawyer arrives. She looked fresh. Well-rested. Like she hadn't spent the previous night destroying her sister's reputation in front of 50 people. That's thoughtful, Mom said, voice carefully neutral. Emily set everything on the kitchen table, arranging it like she was staging a photo shoot. Where's Rachel? Here, I said, stepping into the kitchen. Emily's smile tightened just slightly. You look tired. Rough night. Couldn't sleep. I'm sure yesterday was overwhelming. All those people, all that honesty. She said the word like it was a gift. But that's what family does. We tell each other the truth, even when it's hard. I poured coffee and said nothing. Emily glanced at her watch. The lawyer should be here in 2 hours. I thought we could go over everything first, make sure we're all on the same page about Dad's wishes. His wishes, I repeated.
Yes.
He wants to make sure everything's handled properly. That the assets go where they should. To you, you mean? Emily's expression shifted. Concern replacing confidence. Rachel, I know you're upset about yesterday. But this isn't about taking sides. It's about what Dad wants. What's best for the family. And you decided what that is. I've been here, Ray. I've been taking care of things while you built your life somewhere else. That's not judgment. It's just fact. Mom set her coffee down harder than necessary. Emily, we need to talk about some of the documents. Emily turned to her, smile still in place but eyes sharp. What about them? The signatures. They look. Mom, Dad's hands shake. The doctors explained that. It's normal for someone in his condition. I know what the doctors said. But these signatures look different than his other recent writing. Are you questioning whether Dad signed his own trust documents? The way she said it, shocked, hurt, defensive, was masterful, making Mom sound unreasonable for asking basic questions. I'm questioning the timeline, Mom said. You took him to the lawyer 3 weeks ago. He doesn't remember signing anything. He was tired. The medication makes him foggy sometimes. He doesn't remember going to the lawyer at all. He thought you took him for medical tests. Emily's jaw tightened. Are you calling me a liar? I'm asking for clarity. Clarity. Emily laughed, but there was no warmth in it. This is Rachel's doing, isn't it? She's in your ear, making you doubt me. Making you doubt Dad's wishes. Dad's wishes, I said, or your version of them? Emily turned on me. You have no right to question this.
You left.
You built a life away from here. You don't get to swoop in now and play concerned daughter when the inheritance is on the line. Is that what you think this is about? Money. What else would it be about? You heard what I said last night. You told me you wanted to sell the land. You said you needed the money more than you needed this family. I never said that. I have the texts, Rachel. You have edited texts. Show Mom the full conversation. Emily's face flushed. I don't need to prove anything. 50 people heard you last night. They heard you admit. I admitted nothing. You performed. There's a difference. The kitchen went silent. Emily looked between Mom and me, and I watched her recalculate, adjust her strategy. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Wounded. I can't believe you're doing this. Today of all days. Dad's dying, and instead of supporting each other, you're attacking me. No one's attacking you, Mom said. We're asking questions. Questions that wouldn't exist if Rachel hadn't planted doubts. She's always been jealous. Always felt like she was overlooked. And now she's using Dad's illness too.
The doorbell rang.
We all froze. Emily checked her watch. That's early. The lawyer isn't supposed to be here until 10. I walked to the front door and opened it. Marcus stood on the porch. Behind him were two other people, a woman about Emily's age with dark hair, and a man in his 30s wearing a button-down shirt. Morning, Marcus said. Hope we're not interrupting. Emily appeared in the hallway. When she saw Marcus, her face went white. What are you doing here? I invited him, I said. You had no right. Actually, I had every right. Marcus has information about your pattern of behavior. Thought the family should hear it before we meet with the lawyer. The woman behind Marcus stepped forward. Hi, Emily. Remember me? Your roommate from junior year? The one you accused of stealing your jewelry before I found out you pawned it yourself. Emily's mouth opened.
Closed.
No sound came out. The man spoke next. And I'm Daniel. We dated for 6 months before you told everyone I hit you. Took me a year to clear my name after the police investigated and found zero evidence. Emily grabbed the doorframe. This is ambush. You're all ganging up on me because Rachel convinced you. Rachel didn't convince us of anything, Marcus said. We've been comparing notes about you for 2 years. We just needed someone brave enough to stand up to you publicly. He pulled out a folder. I have recordings, texts, emails, 3 years worth of documentation showing your pattern of manipulation and lies. Emily's eyes darted to Mom. Are you going to let them do this? I'm your daughter. I've been taking care of you, taking care of Dad. While forging his signature, I said. While transferring property into your name. While setting me up to look unstable so no one would question what you were doing. I didn't. The Maryland land. I continued. You already sold it, didn't you? That's why you needed last night. You needed witnesses saying I wanted to sell it so, when the family found out it was gone, you could blame me. Emily's face crumpled. Not real crying.
Performance crying.
I can't believe you'd accuse me of something so horrible. After everything I've done. After everything I've sacrificed. Stop, Mom said. Emily turned to her, hope flickering. Mom, please, you have to believe. I said stop. Mom's voice was steel. I want to see Marcus's evidence. I want to hear what these people have to say. And then I want the truth, Emily. The real truth. Not the version you've been selling us. Emily's face went through several expressions, shock, hurt, anger, before landing on something cold and calculating.
Fine.
You want the truth? Here it is. I did everything I did because I had to. Because Rachel left, and someone had to take care of this family. Someone had to make the hard decisions. Someone had to be responsible. Responsible, I said. Is that what you call forging Dad's signature? He was going to die anyway. The land would just sit there, doing nothing, while you and Mom fought over it for years. I expedited the process. The admission hung in the air. Mom's face went slack. You're confessing. I'm explaining. There's a difference. Emily's voice rose. I've spent my entire life being the good daughter. The one who stayed. The one who helped. And for what? So Rachel could come home once a year and get equal credit? Equal inheritance. That's what Dad wanted, Mom said quietly. Dad was sentimental. He wasn't practical. Someone had to be. The doorbell rang again. This time it was a man in a suit carrying a briefcase. Good morning. I'm looking for the Morgan residence. I'm David Chun, the family attorney. He was an hour early. Emily's face fell. You're early. Your sister called me last night, he said, looking at me. Asked me to come early. Said there were some documents that needed immediate review. Emily's eyes snapped to me. You called the lawyer? I called Dad's lawyer. The one who actually handled the trust originally. Not whoever you took Dad to 3 weeks ago. Mr. Chun stepped inside, taking in the tense scene. Perhaps we should all sit down, he said carefully. It seems there's quite a bit to discuss. Emily's performance mask finally cracked completely, and the real battle was about to begin. We moved to the living room. Mr. Chun took the armchair. Mom and I sat on the couch. Marcus and his witnesses stood near the doorway. Emily remained standing by the window, arms crossed, face unreadable. Before we begin, Mr. Chen said, pulling documents from his briefcase, I want to establish that I've been the Morgan family attorney for 23 years. I drafted the original trust when Rachel and Emily were minors. I've handled every legal matter for this family since. He looked directly at Emily, which is why I was surprised to receive a call last month from a colleague saying he'd handled a trust amendment for Mr. Morgan. I never authorized any changes. Mr. Morgan never contacted me about modifications. Emily's hands tightened on her arms. Dad wanted to use a different lawyer. That was his choice. Was it? Mr. Chen opened a folder. Because when I called your father yesterday to confirm, he had no memory of changing lawyers. No memory of signing new documents. He's sick. His memory is fine for a man in his condition. What's not fine is these. He laid out copies of the trust amendments. I had a handwriting expert review these overnight. Preliminary analysis suggests these signatures were not made by your father. The room went still. That's preliminary, Emily said quickly. Not definitive. And even if there are questions, it doesn't mean. It means we have probable cause to investigate fraud, Mr. Chen said. Which is why I've already contacted the police. They'll be sending someone over this afternoon. Emily's face went white. The police? That's excessive. This is a family matter. Forgery is a criminal matter. Property transfer under fraudulent pretenses is a criminal matter. He looked at Mom. Mrs. Morgan, did you witness your husband signing any of these documents? Mom shook her head. Emily said she took him to routine appointments. I wasn't feeling well those days, so I stayed home. And the property transfer? The Maryland land? I didn't know about it until last night. Mr. Chen made notes. According to county records, that land was sold 4 days ago for $2.1 million. The funds were deposited into an account under Emily Morgan's name only. The number hit like a physical blow. 2.1 million. Mom gasped. Emily, tell me that's not true. Emily's composure was cracking. Her voice came out defensive, sharp. I sold it because Dad wanted me to handle things. He said I had better judgment about financial matters. Mr. Morgan told me yesterday he explicitly refused to sell that land. Mr. Chen interrupted. He said he wanted it preserved for both daughters. Those were his exact words, both daughters. He changed his mind. Did he? Or did you forge his authorization for the sale? Emily's face flushed red. You're taking their word over mine. Rachel's been poisoning everyone against me. She's jealous, she's vindictive. I have recordings, Marcus said, stepping forward, of Emily coaching me on how to lie to her parents, how to manipulate situations to make herself look good. She did the same thing to me that she's doing to Rachel now. He pulled out his phone and played an audio file. Emily's voice filled the room, younger but unmistakably hers. You have to make them believe you're the victim. Cry if you need to. People always believe the person who cries first. And if they question you, get angry. Make them feel guilty for doubting you. The Emily in the recording laughed. It works every time. Trust me. Present-day Emily's face drained of color. That's out of context. We were joking about. There are 12 recordings, Marcus said. All of them showing your pattern of manipulation. Your own words. The woman from the doorway, Emily's former roommate, spoke up. She stole from me for 6 months. Took money from my wallet, jewelry from my dresser. When I finally confronted her, she told our entire dorm I was the thief. She fabricated evidence. Text messages she sent to herself from my phone. It took weeks to clear my name. And she told everyone I was abusive, Daniel added. Filed a false police report. I lost my job. Lost friends. My family questioned whether they could trust me. All because I broke up with her. Emily's breathing was rapid now, panicked. They're lying. All of them. This is a coordinated attack. These are witnesses to a pattern of behavior, Mr. Chen said calmly. Combined with questionable signatures and unauthorized property transfers, this paints a very clear picture. He turned to Mom. Mrs. Morgan, I need to ask, has Emily had access to your husband's financial accounts? Mom hesitated, then nodded. She said it would be easier for her to handle medical bills and expenses. I signed forms giving her authorization. Did you read those forms before signing? Emily assured me they were standard. Mr. Chen's expression darkened. I'll need to see those. My concern is she may have gained broader access than you intended. He made more notes, then looked at Emily. Miss Morgan, I strongly advise you to retain legal counsel. The evidence suggests multiple criminal offenses, fraud, Forgery, theft, elder abuse. Elder abuse. The words landed like grenades. Emily's face twisted. Elder abuse? I took care of him. I was there every single day while Rachel was living her life 2 hours away. I sacrificed everything. You stole from him, I said quietly. You forged his signature. You sold family property without authorization. That's not sacrifice. That's theft. I did what had to be done.
Why?
Mom's voice broke. Why, Emily? We would have taken care of you. Your fathers will already provided for both of you equally. Why wasn't that enough? Because equal isn't fair. Emily's voice rose, all pretense gone. Rachel got to leave. Got to build a life. Got to be the one who made something of herself while I stayed behind. The dutiful daughter. The caretaker. The boring one who never did anything interesting. Her hands were shaking. I was tired of being the backup plan. The understudy. The one people only noticed when Rachel wasn't around. So yes, I took control. I made sure I'd be taken care of. I made sure I'd matter. You always mattered, Mom said, tears streaming. You were never a backup. We loved you. You loved the version of me that was useful. That made things easier. The real me? The one who wanted more? That person was never enough. The room was silent except for Emily's ragged breathing. Mr. Chin closed his folder. I'll need to freeze the account where the property proceeds were deposited. Mrs. Morgan, you'll need to revoke any financial authorizations Emily has. And, Miss Morgan. He looked at Emily with something close to pity. I'd contact a criminal defense attorney today. The police will want to speak with you. Emily laughed, but it came out broken. This is perfect. Rachel finally gets what she wanted. I'm destroyed, and she comes out the hero. I never wanted this, I said. Didn't you? Emily's eyes were cold. You could have stayed quiet. Accepted the changes.
Moved on.
But you had to dig. Had to expose everything. Had to win. This isn't about winning. Everything's about winning, Ray. I just played the game better than you did. Until I didn't. She grabbed her purse. Don't leave town, Mr. Chin warned. The police will need to interview you. I'm not running. I'm just getting some air before my entire life collapses. She walked toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Rachel, you were always the favorite. Dad just hit it better than Mom did. Everything I did, all of it, was trying to measure up to the daughter who didn't even try. She left. The door closed with a soft click that somehow felt louder than a slam. Mom collapsed into sobs. I sat next to her, putting my arm around her shoulders. She leaned into me, body shaking. I missed it, she kept saying. I missed all of it. What kind of mother? Stop, I said gently. She fooled everyone. That was her gift. Marcus sat down on Mom's other side. For what it's worth, Mrs. Morgan, Emily fooled me too.
Completely.
I thought I was the problem for months before I realized she'd been manipulating me the entire time. Mr. Chin packed up his papers. I'll handle the legal proceedings from here. The property sale will likely be reversed. The trust will revert to its original form. Mrs. Morgan, I'll need you to come to my office this week to sign some documents. What happens to Emily? Mom asked. That depends on what the police find. And whether your husband wants to press charges. He won't, I said. He told me last night he still loves her. He'll be devastated, but he won't press charges. The state might prosecute anyway, Mr. Chin said. Financial crimes against elderly persons are taken seriously. But that's not your concern right now. He left, taking his briefcase and the weight of legal complications with him. Marcus's witnesses said their goodbyes, promising to provide official statements if needed. Then it was just the three of us, Mom, Marcus, and me, sitting in the wreckage of what used to be a family. What do we do now? Mom asked. I didn't have an answer. Because how do you move forward when the foundation of everything you believed was built on lies? 3 months later, Dad died on a Tuesday morning in October. Peacefully, the nurses said. Mom was holding his hand. I was in the chair next to his bed. Emily wasn't there. She'd been arrested 2 weeks after the lawyer's visit. Charges included fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation of an elderly person. The prosecutor offered a plea deal, 2 years probation, restitution, community service. Emily took it. She didn't come to the funeral. Mom said she sent flowers. White lilies with a card that read, I'm sorry. 2 words for years of betrayal. We sold the Maryland land legally this time. Split the proceeds. Used part of it to pay off Dad's medical bills. The rest went into trust accounts that actually did what they were supposed to, protected both of us. The house felt empty, without Dad. Mom talked about selling it, but couldn't bring herself to pack up 30 years of memories. I started visiting every weekend. Not out of obligation. Out of choice. Marcus came by sometimes too. He and I never dated. Too much shared trauma makes for complicated relationships, but we became friends. Real friends. The kind who knew each other's worst moments and stuck around anyway. On a Sunday in late November, Mom and I were sorting through Dad's office. She found a letter tucked into his desk drawer. My name on the envelope, in Dad's shaky handwriting. He must have written this near the end, she said, handing it to me. I opened it carefully. Rachel, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I didn't stop Emily sooner. I'm sorry I let things get so bad before I saw what was really happening. Your sister isn't evil. She's broken. Somewhere along the way, she learned to measure her worth by how much attention she got, how much control she had. We failed her by not seeing it sooner, by rewarding the performance instead of addressing the pain underneath. But this isn't about excuses. What she did was wrong. Unforgivable, to most people. I'm asking you to try anyway. Not today. Maybe not for years. But someday, if she ever genuinely changes, consider forgiveness. Not for her sake. For yours. Carrying that weight will only hurt you in the end. I love you both. I always did. Equally. Completely. Even when one of you made that very hard to show.
Dad.
I read it twice. Then folded it and put it back in the envelope. What did it say? Mom asked. That he loved us. And that he was sorry. Are you going to forgive her? I looked out the window at the backyard where Emily had staged her performance. The white chairs were gone. The Edison bulbs taken down. Just grass and trees and autumn leaves now. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday. But not today. Mom nodded. That's fair. We kept sorting in comfortable silence. Later, sitting alone in the treehouse at sunset, I thought about everything that happened. About Emily's need to win, to control, to matter. About how desperation turns people into versions of themselves they never meant to become. About how families break, not with explosions, but with small betrayals that compound over time until the foundation cracks. People ask me sometimes if I regret exposing her. If I wish I'd handled it quietly, privately. The answer is no. Because silence protects the wrong people. Emily didn't need my silence. She needed consequences. She needed to face what she'd done without an audience to perform for, without sympathy to hide behind. Some people say I went too far. That family should forgive family, no matter what. But those people never had a sister who weaponized trust. Who turned love into leverage. Who smiled while burning down everything you believed in. They asked me once why I didn't warn Emily before I exposed her. Why I didn't give her a chance to confess, to apologize, to make it right. I thought about it for a long time before I answered. Because people who choose sides without asking questions don't deserve warnings. They deserve exactly what they gave me. Silence until the truth was undeniable. Some families break loud, with screaming and doors slamming and dramatic exits. Ours broke quiet. It broke the moment 50 people chose Emily's performance over my truth. The moment Mom's hand went limp in mine. The moment I realized I was fighting alone. I didn't break the family by exposing Emily. The family was already broken. I just made sure everyone finally heard it. And now, sitting in this treehouse where Emily and I used to hide as kids, I understand something I didn't before. Revenge isn't about getting even. It's about refusing to stay silent while someone rewrites your story. It's about standing up when everyone tells you to sit down. It's about choosing truth over comfort, even when truth costs everything. Emily wanted me to disappear quietly, to accept her version of events, to be the villain in her carefully crafted story. Instead, I became the author of my own. And that choice to reclaim my narrative was the best revenge of all. The sun drops below the tree line. The backyard falls into shadow. I climb down from the treehouse and walk toward the house, where Mom has dinner waiting. Tomorrow I'll go back to my life 2 hours north. Back to work, friends, routine. But I'll come back next weekend. And the one after that.
Because this is still my family.
Broken, yes. Smaller than before. Missing pieces that can't be replaced. But mine. And worth fighting for. Even when fighting means standing alone against everyone you love and forcing them to see what they don't want to see. Especially then.